Hi, and welcome to Sonic Peak Studio. My name is Jakob. Today we will be looking at removing boxyness and muddiness and thereby enhancing the subs to get a really nice low end going by looking at Alex Ball's song called Foreplay, which is linked below. Our main tool for the job is, of course, the parametric EQ. We'll be looking into compression later, but for now we will concentrate on just using static EQs, no dynamic EQs or any special tricks like that. And we'll try and use some tricks we used in the earlier video to really get this going. So before we can concentrate on making a nice low end, we need to clean up the high end first. So we'll use the same tricks as in the last video with a semi-narrow Q parametric EQ, and then we'll sweep the upper bands at a semi-high volume on your headphones or nice studio monitors and see what you can find up there that sounds nasty. Let's go. I'm not particularly happy about that. 2275 hertz. Let's remember. It's even bad. It's worse here. So we're in the ballpark here. That's not too good. Okay. 3.0. And it gets worse here, I think. So we have some problem here. Maybe we could go away with a deeper cut here. A wider cut. And up here's nothing really. We might use some of that later. Let's find the center frequency. Here we go. And then we're going to reset that and we're going to pull it out. Okay. Softer sounding. Now, we found the most problematic frequency of this signal in the uppers now. And later on, we can work a bit on the highs to gain a little bit high energy back. But for now, let's go low, because now we've got the highs tidied up. Good. Enable another band, and then we go hunting for boxyness. And boxyness usually lives between 300 and 500 hertz. Look, here we got it. Sounds like cardboard here. That's some of the character of the signal here, but look at the hertz down here, and when we go to, this area 400, it sounds really boxy. Now let's take some of that out. And listen now how the low end starts to clear up all by itself. Great. Maybe we've got some problems here as well, so let's go hunting for those. So let's see. Now the big wave down here, that's the fundamental of the bass drum, but I'm not particularly interested in that. I think it's up higher here. It's not too bad, but I'm not particularly crazy about this area, also because it's here where the bass plays. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that out because I know the bass is gonna come into play here. Great. And actually tighten it up a bit. Good. Now I'm gonna enable another band to have a look at the subs down here. Let's go. Band 4, wrong shape. There we go. And then let's move it down and see if we can enhance the sub. And I actually am not crazy about the fundamental as well. I don't think it sounds so nice. So let's see what happens below. Something like this. Now let's see what happens below the subs that we got boosted here. We have a low cut filter going here at 27 hertz, and it's set to a very shallow slope of 6 dBs per octave. I think we could filter this a little bit harder, like this, without it ruining the sound in any way. But if you go steeper, that in itself will create extra harmonics down here. Some would say distortion, But sometimes it sounds really nice. So don't be shy using this. But let's have a listen and see what we think sounds best. Very shallow. Let's go to very steep. Okay, this I can hear. This actually boosts the low end a bit more. And this even more. It could be good. We don't know. We haven't heard the bass yet, so it could be good. So this could be our secret trick to get more low end out of the bass drum. But I think for now I would keep it at 12 dBs per octave, because that's the happy medium, I think. This is time to quickly tell you that this EQ curve on a bass drum, especially in this area, is not uncommon on many bass drums and toms, because drums, kick drums and toms often have too much energy in the 100 to 500 hertz area. Boxyness here between 3 and 500, and muddiness here. And also, if you take this area out, you leave more space for the bass. So this could even have been a tom-tom, one of the lower ones, and you would see the same picture. Please consider that we have now also removed some of the high end of the bass drum up here, and this might actually be a bit too much for the mix overall, but we don't know. But the great thing about this technique is that we actually now know where the pokiness of this signal is, which is exactly where it will punch also through the mix. So if we later on in the mix revisit this bass drum, because we need some more click in it, we can just pull this baby a little bit up. Now, we might also try and investigate whether we can pull out some more high end of the bass drum above this to get some more air into it. So let's do that. We've ran out of bands on this EQ, so let's start another EQ. Here we go. I've prepared it with one band up here, and now we'll start to poke around to see if we can find some nice stuff and see what's going on. And another neat thing is that, as I told in the last video, is that if you make a too tight of a band like this, you will get the filter itself in the equalizer to start ringing. But we can now use that to actually make more click in the kick drum here. So we'll try and go a little bit back and forth and see what's going on here. A quick note. The reason why we can now use these narrow cues on the EQ to boost things is that we've taken out the nastiness already. So even though this might in itself create nastiness, it will never be as bad as without this one. So we can do this with almost full utility. So let's go. Let's make it a little bit wider and see what we can find up here. Could be that we can mark this area here around 5K. This might come in handy later. So great, we found some more snap in the high end. What I really want to do now is bring in the bass, but for that to happen we're gonna need some context. So I zoomed in on the project, rearranged it a bit, and I got the hat and the snare here as well. So we're gonna bring in those two as well. And I'm gonna start out by looking at the hat and using the technique that we learned in the earlier video to take out things we don't need in that, and then we're gonna move on to the snare. So let's look and solo it. Gonna turn it up a bit. Remember to play semi-loud in your headphones or your system, and then we go hunting. Let's see what's going on here. This doesn't sound too good to me, and I think we can actually see it here on the spectrum analyzer. So I think I'm gonna take that one out. Okay, gonna zoom in a bit. There we go. That's the one. Gonna tighten it up a bit. That's nice. Okay, we lost some high end. We're gonna compensate for that. Let's first start with the band and see if there's anything wrong in boosting up here. No, that sounds pretty good. Okay, so we can do that. Great. So, and well, you could put a low cut on this one, but there isn't much going on down here. But let's use it just for the sake of things. Now let's go hunting in the midst and see if there's anything there. Oh, my bad. Not really, no. I think this sounds pretty good. Okay, good. So I think we fixed the hat. Now we can move on to the snare. Let's poke around. This is not too good. Let's see if there's anything high up. Yeah, I think this is not too pleasant, this area around here. So that's 3.5, 4K. Okay, let's see up here. That's not too bad. We got some nice high end going here. So, but I think we need to go down here and take this area out. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's see if we can find muddiness and boxyness and take that out, and thus enhancing the low end of it. That's not too bad. I've heard worse, but my experience tells me that it might be a good idea to take out a bit, even though in this boxyness area here. So let's do that just out of experience, like that, and then let's try and find a nice fundamental below that we can boost. Like this. Great, we can take a bit more out of the U out. Let's exaggerate. Now it's a little bit too hollow. Great, and then we lost some high end, and we're gonna compensate. We already knew that this stuff up here is good. Let's put that in. Please observe that the curve that we have now in the snare drum actually looks a bit like the one we had in the kick drum. And that's the phenomenon I talked about when I was talking about the kick drum, that it's very normal for drums to have too much energy in this area here, and we need to take that out. So please observe that. So let's bring it all together. And let's bring in the bass. So we can get the bass to sit nicer with the kick drum. So let's look into that. Let's solo it. Let's look at the top first, if there's anything we don't like. A little bit here that I'm not too fond of. Okay, let's just mark that. Let's look at the boxy area. I'm not too keen here. That sounds a little bit not nice to me. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not too fond of that. And here we go. Then the low end really starts to clear up. I think we can move that. Yeah, here. Let's try that. That's good. And let's see with the last one here, if there are any problems further down here. Oh, that sounds pretty nice. Let's see if we can grab some of this heavy stuff by going low here. Okay, let's see how that goes. Let's see if we can get to poke a little bit through. That's here. let's investigate this area a bit by bringing another EQ since we ran out of bands. There could be something gained by cleaning up the 100 Hz area. Let's have a look. Yeah, about here. Let's try that. There we go. And that leaves a little bit more room for the bass drum, as you can hear. So let's add another element that also has information and the lows that we need to clean up before we can get it to sound nice. And it also has some dynamic problems that we will look into, and that will lead us on to the subject for the next video, compression and limiting. So let's have a look at it. I imported the synth chords here, and those are dubs, so I panned them hard left and hard right, and then I grouped them because they're almost the same. Let's have a listen. As you can hear, they're quite pokey, and also there's some boxyness, muddiness going on that we have to look into. Let's look at it with the spectrum analyzer and see what we can get. Okay, that's very low. I'm gonna turn it up a bit and a little bit down for the group. Okay, this down here we can take out. Okay, and let's have a look up here if there's anything we don't like. This is this area I don't like, 2200. Also some stuff going on here I think is actually worse. Okay, and this area as well. So good. We're gonna take a bit of this out. 2200. And let's blend it in and see what happens. And let's put in some high end. Let's investigate up here. If there are any nasties we need to take care of, no, we can do this. That's pretty nice. Okay. Now, this took a bit of the pokiness out of it a bit as well, but it's still quite pokey. Now, I wouldn't use compression in this instance. I would actually use limiting instead. And I'm actually a big fan of the L1 limiters. Very simple, and it does the job. Auto release, and let's link them so we get it with the same gain. And let's see if we can take some of the pokiness out. Without. With. It's much more put back into the speakers, so to say, and it doesn't poke as much. Let's listen. And now it becomes much easier to place in the mix. So, there you go. This concludes our lesson of trying to remove mud and boxyness from signals to get to the nice subs that we want. And we also again looked into cleaning up the high end, because if we don't do that, we cannot make a nice low end. And we had a small glimpse into limiting to control the dynamics of a signal, which will lead us on to the next video, but that's for another day. Bye bye.